Okay, so today we're going deep on something super practical and something you might actually need at some point, whether you're buying your dream car or maybe getting rid of your old ride. Yeah, we're talking about the vehicle bill of sale.
Ooh, very important.
Yes, and you actually sent over this podcast episode called How to Draft a Vehicle Bill of Sale with these legal experts, Alex and Mia. And I thought it'd be great to kind of go through what they talked about and how we can use their insights to make sure we're doing everything correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it can be easy to overlook this document. I feel like a lot of people think of it as just a formality.
Right.
But like Alex and Mia were saying, it's so important for legal protection. It's really the only way to prove that you've transferred ownership of a vehicle.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was thinking about it like it really is just like buying any other item. You always want that receipt.
Right. Exactly.
Especially if it's like a big purchase,
Sure.
So this is kind of like that, but even more important because we're talking about a vehicle.
Absolutely. And I think, it can really save you from a lot of headaches down the line because imagine like months after you've sold your car, you suddenly get a parking ticket in the mail.
Ugh, or like a hit and run or something.
Exactly. Like something crazy like that. And if you don't have that bill of sale, it's going to be a nightmare trying to prove that you're no longer the owner of that vehicle.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's pretty clear now why we need this bill of sale, but let's actually get into like the details. What needs to be on this thing?
Okay, so Alex and Mia had a really good list.
They did.
So first things first, you need the full names and addresses of both the buyer and the seller.
Okay, so like no nicknames or anything.
Exactly. It needs to be very clear who's who.
Right, very official.
And then you need to get really specific about the vehicle itself. So that means make the model, the year, the mileage,
Okay.
and the VIN.
Okay, hold on. I want to talk about that VIN for a second because most people hear VIN and they're like, oh yeah, that random string of numbers and letters. But it's actually way more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the car's DNA. It's totally unique to that specific car. And it can tell you so much about the vehicle's history, like if it's been in any accidents or had major repairs, any title changes if it's ever been reported stolen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so before you buy a car, you can actually run a VIN check and it'll give you all that information so you don't end up buying something, with a shady past.
That's a really good tip. I feel like not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, it's super important.
Okay, so we've got all that information.
Yeah.
What else needs to be on this bill of sale?
The sale price, obviously, like how much money is changing hands. Got to be clear about that.
Right, of course.
And then the exact date of the transaction, so we know exactly when the ownership was transferred.
Makes sense. Okay. And Alex and Mia also talked about this thing called the as-is clause.
Yes.
So what is that all about?
Okay, so the as-is clause basically means that the buyer is accepting the car in its current condition.
Okay.
So that means with all of its known and unknown faults. Yeah, so this is really important for the seller because it protects them from any claims if the car breaks down after the sale.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there's a really important caveat here.
Okay, what's that?
So as-is doesn't cover everything. Like if the seller knew about a problem with the car and they actively concealed it or they lied about the car's condition, then they could still face legal action.
So it's not like a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Exactly. It's more about being transparent.
Right.
The buyer knows what they're getting into.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so anything else we need to think about with this bill of sale?
Well, you should always check your state laws because some states require the bill of sale to be notarized.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just adds another layer of legal validity to the document. And I think it's just good practice for both the buyer and the seller to keep a copy of the bill of sale for their records.
Right. You never know when you might need it.
Exactly.
Okay, so now let's say the bill of sale is signed. Everything's good to go.
Yeah.
What happens next? What are the responsibilities, especially for the buyer?
So Mia was really emphasizing this in the podcast episode. The buyer needs to register the vehicle in their name and update the title.
Right.
And this is so important because it officially transfers the ownership in the eyes of the law, and it protects the buyer from any liability for anything that might have happened with the previous owner.
Okay, so that's like the final step.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so we really covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
I think it's clear that even though the vehicle bill of sale might seem like a simple document, it's actually a really important part of buying or selling a car.
Absolutely. It protects both the buyer and the seller, and it can really save you from a lot of headaches in the future.
It's like peace of mind in a document.
Yeah, exactly that. And, it's not just about completing a transaction. It's about having a clear legal record so you don't have to worry about disputes down the line.
Right.
I think a lot of people are tempted to skip this step to save time. But imagine trying to prove that you no longer own a car that was involved in an accident. Or imagine that you're the buyer and you discover some hidden problem with the car that the seller didn't disclose.
Right.
Suddenly, that bill of sale becomes your best friend.
Yeah, it really is worth taking the time to do it right.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we can wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining me and breaking all this down.
You're welcome. It was fun.
And for all of you listening out there, the next time you're buying or selling a car, remember, don't skip the bill of sale.
Yeah, it could save you a lot of trouble in the long run.
And until next time.
See ya.
If this podcast helped you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep making these videos. Thanks for watching.